Welcome back to Explain America. This is your host, Kyle Becker. Is America healing? Are we finally seeing some accountability in this country? Is the Democratic Party finally being made to live by its own book of rules? Well, we're going to break down a story about someone who thought they could yell racially insensitive comments to a black Republican gubernatorial candidate. Her name is Winsome Earl Sears. She's trying to be governor in Virginia, and it's a very critical race that I'm sure you've been following. But this very ugly episode that happened at a James Madison football game, it encapsulates the heart of what we're trying to see in this country. And we're trying to get back to sanity and common sense, and I'm going to explain why. But before we break down the story, please like, share, and comment at Explain America. Join us. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, someone who was getting way too much negative attention in the past week after a James Madison football game, well, he has just found out that you are going to be made to live by the book of rules that you guys wrote. And that is when he made insensitive comments at Winsome Earl Sears. He yelled, "Go back to Haiti," and called her a traitor. Let's take a look. Well, bad news for this guy. His name is Scott Pogarelk, and he was the guy who was exposed yelling slurs at Winsome Earl Sears at the football game. His son had transferred to James Madison this year as a redshirt senior. And Scott and Patricia Pogarelk, this married couple, they were best dedicated donors and Democratic Party supporters, and they live within the Centerville, Virginia area. Now, there is a bad news for Scott. His employer found out about this story, and it looks from the statement that he is no longer employed. So this is from Allison Papson of Fox 5 DC. She reported, quote, "We hold all of our employees and subsidiaries to the highest standards of integrity and professional conduct." And this is the statement from Lockheed Martin. The statement added, "Any behavior that violates our code of ethics will be thoroughly investigated, and employees will be found in violation will be held accountable. Zeta Associates investigated the matter, and the individual is no longer employed," unquote. And that's according to the Lockheed Martin spokesperson. So this defense contractor, well, they found out about Scott Pogarelk's nasty statements, and he has been terminated, according to the statement. But it's funny that Lockheed Martin is involved here because it has been on both sides of this woke culture war. And it seems like the administrations that are in charge, they have different standards for these defense contractors. So while you may believe Lockheed Martin, well, they represent the military community. Of course, they're on the more conservative side of things. They don't appreciate what Scott Pogarelk said, and the reason he's being let go is because they're, partial to Republicans or something like this. And in other words, this isn't reflective of the broader culture. I would say be very cautious with that assumption because in June it was exposed by a researcher named Christopher Rufo that Lockheed Martin kept a spreadsheet of employees by race and then instructed managers how many whites they must eliminate from the bonus list, even if those employees performed better than their peers. And they wrote it all down, even though it was illegal. That's very interesting, but you got to see the power play here. The backstory of it was that in 2017 through 2018, they were assessed to have discriminated against Asian, African American, and Hispanic applicants per software engineer, associate systems engineer staff, member engineering staff, software engineer, and system engineer positions. And they were forced to pay $700,000. That's according to the Department of Labor. and had to hire those who did not get the jobs because of alleged discrimination. So that came via Executive Order 11246, and that prohibited race-based discrimination in hirings by a federal contractor. So this is very fascinating because you see Lockheed Martin, they are a litmus test for, in some ways, as a defense contractor for the culture wars, because their actions are going to be guided like a divining rod according to the leadership, and it just kind of shows you how the signaling from the White House, from the President of the United States, from the bully pulpit, really sets the tone for the entire nation. And weigh in with your own thoughts. We appreciate your listening at Explain America.